Imagine someone telling you you can't speak German correctly when you are actually from Germany. Well, that's what happens in today's first Entitled Parent story. Entitled Mum says I can't speak German correctly. I am from Germany. Me and my wife went to Germany for 3 weeks for my dad's birthday. We stayed at my brother's place in Berlin. We took my nephew Ben to the zoo and some other places. We see American tourists, you can tell, walking around the zoo. We walk over and say, "Hi, how are you?" She tells us that we said it wrong. She also mutters, "Stupid Germans." We tried to say we are from America and that she was rude. She then talks to my nephew, who knows only German. "How is the zoo?" And "Are you from America?" He sputters out some German and she freaks the F out. "How dare you lie to me? I am an American." Yes, she was yelling at people in their own country to speak English. We tried to explain to her that me and my wife live in the States and my nephew lives here. Then her kid just yanked her away and mouthed sorry. We quickly left after. Alright, bit of a weird story. To be fair to the entitled woman, it's not completely outside the realms of possibility for a German speaker to not speak German that well. I mean, I'm from England, guys. There are a lot of people in England that are terrible at speaking English. I mean, look at Harry Kane, for example. But yeah, I think the majority of German people probably speak German very well indeed. Weird story. Now for our next story. Entitled woman takes my niece's baby Yoda I made for her. Recently, my sister and her husband came to really like Baby Yoda, / the child in The Mandalorian. I crochet and made them a Baby Yoda, something my 4-year-old niece liked as well. I ended up making another Baby Yoda in purple, my niece's favourite colour, specifically for her. And guys, here we have an image of the Baby Yoda. As you can see, pretty lovely. I mean, the design is great and I love it. It just looks fantastic. Well done. Yesterday, I was babysitting my niece and we went to Walmart to pick up some snacks and ingredients for dinner. My niece insisted on bringing her Baby Yoda with us. It happened fast while I was picking through bags of spinach. My niece, who was in the shopping cart, began screaming and crying. Despite not having any children yet, I am more than a little of a mama bear and instantly abandoned the spinach to check on her. My niece was halfway out of the cart, still screaming, pointing at a woman who was walking away with a very familiar purple Baby Yoda in her cart, heading towards the registers. I picked up my niece and stormed after this woman, abandoning my shopping cart as she turned into a register. She had put her things on the checkout conveyor belt when I got there, most of her things already scanned, and she was trying to discuss prices for the Baby Yoda. It's not in the best of shape, and the price indicated was $12.99. Could you give me a discount? I marched over, my sobbing niece in arm, and snatched the Baby Yoda from the supplies clerk who was checking for a tag. The entitled woman screeched as she grabbed the toy as well. "How dare you! I'm buying this for my daughter. She loves purple and those other ones are all green." "This belongs to my niece. I made it for her," I snarled. "Liar, you're just angry I got to it first." A manager must have been attracted by the noise of screams because he approached, a less than pleased look on his face. "Is something wrong here?" The entitled woman pointed at me with her free hand. "This woman is trying to take this doll I'm trying to buy for my daughter." I was still trying to keep a grip on the Baby Yoda. "I told you I made this. I doubt the Yoda's sold here are made from yarn." The manager called security after a moment of trying to mediate, and I was forced to let go of the Yoda to talk to the guard. Luckily, I like to take pictures of my projects that I finish, so it only took a moment for me to pull out my phone and bring up a picture of the Baby Yoda when I had finished it. Namely, the picture on the link above, the one that I've already showed you guys. We both turned back to the cash register and my niece began to cry again when we saw the woman was gone, and the manager approached us with a hard look. "I realise that those toys are very popular, but you shouldn't try to steal one of a specific colour from someone." I held up my phone, picture still up, and saw the man's face drain of colour when he saw the toy in an environment that was very much not his store, but the damage was already done. He had sold my niece's toy to the entitled woman and she had left. Needless to say, I'm never going back to that Walmart, and my niece is still upset about her purple Baby Yoda being stolen. I'm making another one for her currently, one that will have her name stitched onto the back, so this will never happen again. Yo, anyone else think that is absolutely terrible from the manager and Walmart in general? Like, I'm sorry, if you are selling a product that you don't even own yourself, surely you should realize that. Surely, like, every product has some sort of, barcode or something, or that you own it, like it's in your store. If you get a random product, you don't just sell it for an agreed on price. How does that make any sense? I want to know how they came to that price. Did they just randomly think, oh yeah, we have one purple Yoda amongst all the other green ones, like the normal color? I don't understand that at all. That is so poor from the manager to allow that sale. That is ridiculous. If I was OP, I'd be absolutely fuming. I'd be so angry. You put time into making that and then it's just been sold, even though Walmart don't even own it? That is unbelievable. Can you believe that, guys? I also don't understand. Like, this guy has to be reported, right? He didn't even listen to your side before he just said, oh, yeah, you know what? Your story sounds good, Entitled Mum. I'll just give you it for $12.99. What are you doing? What a terrible, terrible manager. The manager is more entitled than the woman in this story. I promise you, that is my opinion. Wow. Now moving on to our third story, we don't give trophies here, lady. I taught martial arts several years ago, and I've seen my fair share of entitled parents. However, this lady and her kids are forever burned into my brain. I taught at a regular studio, but on the side, to market the studio, I would run a 6-week after-school parks and rec program. In my program, I taught forms, there would be a couple days of sparring and board-breaking basics. I think some parents and kids come in thinking they're going to be these MMA cage fighters, but I digress. Looking back, I think the most entitled parents were ones that put their kids in that program. I was starting a new session and this woman, the entitled mum, brought her 2 sons, 6-ish and 12-ish years old, to the class. I greet them. Hey, I'm OP. Welcome to Parks and Rec class. What are your names? The entitled mum said, where is the instructor? I am. I teach over at X Martial Arts Studio on the streets. I was expecting a man. We really want a man to teach our sons. She then turns to her kids and tells them that I fight like a girl. While this was very annoying, I thought maybe the kids would be okay, or maybe she was just brash. I was wrong. The 12-year-old on day 1 wanted to spar me. I told him that isn't what we're going to do and that we would spar later in the class session once everyone learns the basics. I invited the entitled mum to stay to watch the classes so I could ensure that I was a capable and very qualified instructor, thinking this would put her mind at ease. For the next 6 weeks, I had to deal with the fighting like a girl or where is a male instructor comments. I assured her that while we do have male instructors, I am the only one that runs this program, and at our studio there is a teaching rotation, so everyone gets an opportunity to teach. However, I am the one that oversees the other instructors. Oddly enough, these folks signed up at our studio. On their first day, the entitled mum and her 2 sons and an older sister walk in. I greet them just like I would any students and ask for information to set up accounts. I'm getting things squared away, and the sister, who was maybe my age, I was in my early 20s, made the comment I've heard time and time again. I bet you hit like a girl. At this time, I was very much over the comments. I get it the first couple of times, but it gets old quickly. So, I said back to her, I have a waiver that you can sign if you'd like, and we can spar. She declined and laughed it off, saying she was joking. Fine. The entitled mum goes on and on about male instructors, how her husband only wants her kids to be taught by men. Her youngest son was the sweetest, kindest kid. I really enjoyed teaching him, and I think that he would have gone far if they would have stayed with the studio. However, the 12-year-old was an entitled kid and had this chip on his shoulder, thinking he was owed the world. I tried to empathize. I've seen kids from all backgrounds and walks of life, but this kid made it difficult. Over the next several weeks, I would only pair the entitled kid, the 12-year-old, with male opponents because I noticed that when he would fight with girls, he would be much more aggressive. He started to get more and more warnings, and it was just a bad time. The entitled mum advised that if I were a male instructor, this wouldn't be happening. I told her that no, that isn't the case. To be honest, I wanted to just say that I think there was a lot of discipline issues at home, but I didn't. Finally, tournament time rolls around. The entitled mum approaches me and asks about trophies. At our tournaments, we just have gold, silver and bronze medals. That's it. She started to demand that we start giving trophies. I told her that while some studios and larger tournaments do have trophies, we just don't provide them at this time. The entitled mum, though, demands that we present her kids with trophies that she planned on buying for them. I told her that I'm absolutely not going to do that. She told me I was crushing her kids' hearts. Eventually, I just tell her, "Mom, for the last time, I'm not presenting your kids with a trophy. It isn't fair to others who have worked just as hard. If you want to give them trophies on your own time, outside of this tournament, of course, you can do that." The entitled mum and her family roll up to the tournament. The entitled kid, the 12-year-old, loses. She brought these trophies with her, left us a bad Yelp review, and dipped from the studio. We never saw them again. I don't know what happened to them. I hope they found a sole male instructor, and I hope that the younger son kept up with it. And I hope that he hasn't adopted the same attitude that his parents and older brother have. I don't teach anymore, but I hope that my kids get into it. Lots of good memories, but man, some parents, am I right? Yes, you are. Not gonna lie guys, that was extremely amusing. Imagine bringing your own trophies. You've gone out to a local trophy store, you've bought a trophy, you've said to the man that makes them, "Oh yeah, I'm just getting this for my kids, they're guaranteed to win martial arts. They're absolute gods on the dojo." I assume that's what the entitled mum said. Anyway, imagine doing that right, then going to the tournament, watching your kids, lose in the first round, and then thinking to yourself, "Oh no. Firstly, my kid is not very good at martial arts after all. Secondly, I've been absolutely horrible to this martial art teacher for the last however many weeks, 6 weeks. And thirdly, I've just spent rather a lot of money on these trophies that my kids no longer deserve and are not going to win. That is very awkward. Yeah, on your way, entitled mum. I'll see you later. Well, hopefully never." Now moving on to our fourth story of today's video. Entitled mum pushes me in my wheelchair away from my family. A few years ago, I was living in Vegas, and an entitled mum literally wheeled me away from my family. I have a number of health issues, and after a few botched surgeries and neurological damage, I was bedridden. I never left my house or bed except for doctor's appointments. I hadn't been out at all for 2.5 years. I'd worked really hard on my daily physical therapy, and my balance had greatly improved. My family came out for a visit. My husband was stationed at Nellis AFB, and I was so excited to surprise them with my improvements. I could stand and walk and was actually wearing pants. To celebrate, I wanted to go see the fountains at the Bellagio. For most people, this is a nice outing, but for me, this was years in the making. I was nervous I might get overtired and lost in the fast-moving crowds, so we had to bring my wheelchair. We knew the schedule for the fountains and arrived super early to secure a spot in front where I could see from my chair. It was such an important moment for all of us. We lined up by the fence, and no sooner did the show start, I felt this jerking on my wheelchair. I thought maybe someone had tripped on me, and I immediately looked up to apologise. I was pretty self-conscious and ashamed of being out in a wheelchair in such a big crowd. When I glanced up to apologise, I see this woman with a small child on her hip using one hand to literally pull me away from the fence. Because she was only using one hand, she spun me completely around to face the streets. I was stunned. I could hear everyone reacting to the fountain show, and here I was looking dumb, awkwardly facing a bunch of strangers. I yelled for my husband, but he couldn't hear me over the noise. I looked behind me, and this woman had plopped her child up onto the guardrail, never made eye contact with me, never said one word to me, and had treated me like a piece of luggage. I tried to stand up, but the people around me had crowded me so much I didn't have room to push my chair back enough. I desperately looked around at the strangers in front of me, hoping someone who had seen what happened would help. It then dawned on me that this was a huge family/friend group. They all began nudging me aside, further and further away from my family. It all happened so fast. I found myself pushed into the walking area where people who weren't stopping to watch the fountain show were quickly trying to walk past. People couldn't see me through the crowd and were stumbling over and past me. I couldn't see my family anymore, and I was trying hard to push myself up out of my chair the way my physical therapist had taught me. I feel someone grabbing my chair again, and I panicked. I start yelling, "No, please, no!" And then I realised it was my husband. He had glanced to check on me and to take a picture of me being out for the first time, and I was gone. He had to fight his way through the crowd, the same family group, to find me. I burst into tears. I don't know why, but it was like all the trauma from the last few years hit me all at once. I told him they had pushed me away, and after putting it together, my husband was fuming. He turned to this group of people and demanded to know who would push me away. By this time, the fountain show was pretty much over. The group initially just ignored my husband like they had me, until I pointed out the woman with her child as the culprits. My family confronted her, nicely I might add, and tried to explain why a wheelchair is an extension of a person, etc. She at first pretended like she didn't speak English, but I had heard them talking amongst themselves in English while they pushed me into the walking area, and I told my husband as much. She then gave up that act and told my family about how I was in their way and probably couldn't see anyway, and the man with her claimed in a raised voice that, in our country, we don't take shameful family members out in public. To which my husband responds, if that were true, none of you would be here. Oh my god. R/murdered by words, anybody? What a burn, man. I was maybe even more shocked by his last sentence than being wheeled away. I managed the courage to tell him that what he said was BS, and that I'm sure people in your country are actually kind and would be proud if I was their daughter. I remember the exact words I said, because later I was very proud that I stood up to them. The group sort of collectively scoffed, spoke to one another quickly in what I think was Hindi, and slowly walked away as if nothing happened. We didn't stay for the next show because I just wanted to go home. I don't know which is worse, pushing a disabled person in a wheelchair out of your way, or wrongly painting your countrymen as prejudice. Well, to answer that question, I'm pretty sure that both aren't that great. Let's be realistic. What a story again. I mean, I'm not going to lie, these 4 stories have been very, very good. I can't lie, I've enjoyed all of them tremendously. This one, yeah, I mean, this is why you have disabled seating, I guess, so people who are disabled and in wheelchairs do not get, stood in front of or pushed out of the way. Well, I'm laughing, but I really shouldn't be. It's just such a horrible thing to do. How selfish do you have to be? I mean, first of all, you are abled. You can stand behind that person and still see, a great view. And if you have a child with you, a small child, just put them on your shoulders or just hold them up. It's not that hard, is it? I mean, come on. And then also, wheeling them out of the way and spinning them around so they can't even see at all? What? Why would you ever do that? I also don't like that it was an entire family of entitled people. I thought it was just going to be an entitled parent, but no, they're all on the act. All these absolute mugs. Turning someone around, pulling them away from their family. What are you doing, man? Honestly, guys, at this point, I'm just done with entitled people. I mean, does it get any worse than this? Seriously, I don't even know. Well, anyway, if you do want more, this is the end of this video, so check out some more right here. I'll check a playlist up. My best Entitled Parents videos are in that playlist right there. Also, if you are new to the channel, I implore you to hit this button as well and subscribe. Because you know what, I post here every single day and it's a great time. So you don't want to miss out on that, do you? Hit the notification bell as well so you never miss one of my daily uploads. And I will see you tomorrow. Same time, same place. Peace.